Alright, for a slope given a table, the first thing is you are going to find any 2 points. Just remember, slope is the same as rate of change, and you have already done rate of change. Okay, rate of change, C-H-A-N-G-E. Alright, so the first is find any 2 points. Find any 2 points. Any 2 points that you like the best. If you don't like negatives, try to find 2 points without negatives. You don't like decimals, try to find 2 points without decimals. Any 2 points that you feel best with. Alright, and then the second thing is you're going to slope. Remember, slope, shorthand for slope is M. And then the slope is the change in y divided by the change in x. Okay, and remember, to find the change in y, you subtract your y's. To find the change in x, you subtract your x's. Okay, alright, but the first thing you do is determine if it's positive or negative. So if I look at the table, so IXL will give you a table and it's just going to want the slope. First thing you have to decide is look at the y. As you go down the table, is y getting bigger or smaller? Right? As you go down, it's getting smaller. Okay, so since y is getting smaller, this is going to be a negative slope. Alright, so we know it's going to be negative, so now let's just go ahead and I'm going to choose the first 2 points right here. The change in y from 43 to 23. So I'm going to do 43 minus 23. That gives me 20. There's my change in y. Okay, so this is the change in y. Now I'm going to find the change in x. Okay, that's 48 minus 46. Just do big minus small because we've already determined whether it's positive or negative. Just do big minus small. 48 minus 46 is 2. That's your change in x. Okay, so now you're going to do 20 divided by 2, and that's 10. And we know it's going to be a negative 10 because y is getting smaller as you go down the table. So our slope here is negative 10. That's what you'd put in as your answer. Okay, alright, let's take a look at number 2. Alright, first, y is, as we go down the table, y is getting smaller. X is getting bigger, y is getting smaller. So since y is getting smaller, this is going to be a negative slope also. Alright, I'm going to find 2 points here. I'm going to choose smaller numbers. Okay, so I'm going to choose those bottom 2. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and find my change in y. So my change in y, I'm going to do 32 minus 7. 32 minus 7 is 25. There's my change in y. And then I'm going to do my change in x. Alright, so for change in x, I'm going to do 70 minus 60. 70 minus 60 is 10. Okay, so my change in y over change in x, my slope is going to be 25 over 10. If you put that into IXL, and it's going to be negative, right? Because we determined it's negative at the beginning. Alright, if you put this into IXL, IXL will tell you it's wrong. You need to simplify it. What divides into both 25 and 10? 5 divides into both 25 and 10. So I'm going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 5. Okay, so I'll have a negative 25 divided by 5 is 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. It's a negative 5 over 2. That's my slope. Negative 5 over 2, 25 over 10. Same thing. It wants to simplify it for. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at number 3. Same thing. Let's look at the y. As we go down the table, y is getting bigger. So since y is getting bigger, this is going to be a positive slope. Alright, let's find our change in y and our change in x. Alright, circle the first 2 points. Alright, so my change in y, I'm going to do 10 minus 2, that's going to be 8. My change in x is going to be 7 minus 3, that's going to be 4. Okay, so my slope is going to be a positive 8 over 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So your slope is going to be a positive 2, and that's what you put in right into IXL, and you move on to the next one. Alright, so number 4. 4 is a little tricky. So y, all of these are negatives, okay? And you look, it looks like the numbers are getting bigger, okay? But it's a negative number that's getting bigger. It's a -7, -35, -63. So these numbers are actually getting smaller as you go down. You're getting a bigger negative every time you go down the column, right? It's turning into a bigger negative. So that means the numbers are getting smaller. So the slope is going to be a negative slope. All right, let's go ahead and find our change in y over change in x. First, get any 2 points. Okay. All right, so my change in y. Notice for my change in y, both of these are negatives. I'm finding the distance between a -7 and a -35. Okay. It would be the same distance as finding the distance between a +7 and a +35. They're both negatives. So I'm just going to pretend that both of these are positives. Okay, so I'm just going to do 35 minus 7. I just want the distance between 35 and 7. Right, both of these are negatives. I'm just going to do the positive. Same thing. All right, so 35 minus 7, the change in y is going to be 28. All right, and for my change in x, I'm going to do 10 minus 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay. All right, so 28 divided by 4. So 28 divided by 4, that's going to be 7. And then I determined at the beginning it's going to be a negative, so my slope is a -7. All right, let's do another one. All right, number 5. Let's look at our y's. First, as we go down the table, y is getting smaller. 17 goes down to 4, and then it dips into the negatives, -9, right? So it's getting smaller as you go down the table. So I know this is going to be a negative slope. Find any 2 points. I don't have to use that negative I don't want to, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to choose this one and this one. Okay, all right, so the change in y, right? So change in y, I'm going to do 17 minus 4, that's 13. The change in x, 5 minus 4. Here's my change in x. 5 minus 4 is 1. So I'm going to do 13 divided by 1. 13 divided by 1 is 13. It's -13. Okay? And in number 6, all right, so y is getting smaller as you go down the table. This is also going to be a negative. Okay? All right, so here's my 2 points that I'm going to use. I'm just going to use these 2 points here. All right, so for my change in y from 21 to 15, 21 minus 15 is 6. My change in x from 15 to 7, 15 minus 7, 15 minus 7 is 8. Okay, so I got to do change in y over change in x, so that's 6 divided by 8. All right, 6 divided by 8, and I know it's going to be a negative. You put that into IXL, IXL will tell you it's wrong. Okay, it's not simplified. What divides into both 6 and 8? They're both even numbers. So I can divide them both by 2. 6 divided by 8 is going to be a 3. 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4, and we know it's going to be a negative. So the slope is a -3/4. One last thing that I want to say is you have been doing, these are not proportional functions, okay? Realize if I did 43 divided by 46, I don't get the same thing as if it's 23 divided by 48, right? 43 over 46 is not the same as 23 over 48. They're different, okay? So you wouldn't treat it like the proportional functions that you've been doing, right? We have to actually find the change in y over the change in x.